My first interaction with hockey would have been when I was a lot younger as a kid and just kind of hearing people in my hometown talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins. I never really wanted to get into hockey. I was into football. It was on, during the afternoons. But I always remember hearing people talk about oh yeah, the Penguins, oh yeah, Sidney Crosby, this, that. So I was aware that hockey was a sport and it was a thing, but it took me until I was a little bit older to really get into the sport. I was attending IUP, getting my master's, and this was the year that I was applying to PhD programs. So it kind of also doubled up as I want to get into this new sports fandom, but I was also using it as a wonderful way to procrastinate from having to do my PhD program applications. Part of it as well, because I knew I was going, who knew where? All I knew was outside of Western Pennsylvania, because all the schools I was applying to at the time were taking me away from that space for the first time in my life. And so when I was approaching hockey, I was like, sweet, I'm a geographical free agent right now. I don't know if it was the first article I read, but I think the first one that I remember sticking in my mind was one that was kind of around the 2019 All-Star game. And it was just this funny piece about how wonderful Claude Giroux is.
Pigeon!
And it was just this is why we should love him. This is why he's a wonderful human being. It was just this silly personality piece. But I remember being yes, let's do this. Let's talk about this. And then from there, I learned about Travis Konechny and Nolan Patrick. This was the same season that the infamous video of them getting lost in their own parking garage was.
How do I get out of here?
No idea, I've never been out here.
You just told me to go this way.
Yeah, well, let's just see where it says at.
Oh yeah, let me just thread the needle through 9 cars and 2 poles.
Very iconic. And it was just okay, so we have these guys, we have Carter Hart, so it's okay, so we have this super young goaltender who could be the savior of the franchise, who can apparently fix all these goaltending woes. I mean, I got to experience some history that year. 8 separate starting goaltenders. And it was also kind of rebellious, they're a rival of my childhood Pittsburgh Penguins, and I'm going to root for these guys because I'm weird like that. Honestly, in general, I think part of what I was looking for when I got into hockey was a different kind of fandom community. The first real big event I went to was the draft party that they held this year. It was at the Sports and Social Lounge in the live casino. I think the funniest thing was whenever Logan Cooley got drafted by the Coyotes, and I just shouted, I wanted him! For either the Kraken or the Flyers, because they were picking back to back. But then right behind me, oh, you're M. Of course you'd want the Yinzer. It was the funniest thing that I was just wow, if I hadn't been known before, just the fact that I kind of revealed myself and people know oh yeah, you're the weird person that has the ties to Pittsburgh, but you're also a Flyers fan. It was just kind of funny to have that recognition. But yeah, it was the first real event I went to. And then I remember meeting up with the crew at the home opener against the Devils this past season. I've seen people for meetups. I've ran into fellow writers at random bars, and just I had no idea you were going to be here today. I just decided to make the trip down into South Philly, and lo and behold, here you are. Because of course you kind of read the articles and you see a lot of really well-informed people are behind the site. These are people that are embracing a lot of really great cutting-edge writing and analytics, and it's amazing. But at the same time, you also get the freedom to be able to, for example, I got to write about the Flyers Pride Night, and I got to really kind of express hey, as a queer fan, this is how it felt for me to kind of watch these warm-ups, to see the ripple effects of what happened when Ivan Provorov chose not to wear the Pride jersey.
A Pride Night celebration at last night's Flyers game is being overshadowed by what one player decided not to do during warm-up.
Defenseman Ivan Provorov refused to wear a jersey like this one for warm-ups last night. Flyers were participating in their annual Pride Night.
And it's an avenue that I don't think a whole lot of websites would let me take. It was just like so important to me. Like when it was like, okay, yes, this is good to go. You can, like, we can publish it. I just really felt like my voice was being listened to and heard in a way that I'm not sure you really always get in this space. Because like, yes, like while I was drawn to the non-traditional sides of fandom, it's still a very small portion of what it is. A lot of it is still very traditional. There's a lot of things that need changed and fixed in hockey. And I know like when it happened, there were a lot of people that were on Provorov's side. And believe what you want to believe. But there's also the fact that, hey, there are actually people in the audience that feel differently. Like I remember Tortorella saying like, oh, it doesn't change anything about like the great things that we did. And I'm saying, and here I am getting to say, actually, it did change my perception of how that night went. I think what's really nice is that like when I've been a part of this community, I don't feel any different from anyone else. Like whenever I've gotten to talk to the other writers or even talk to people who happen to like read the site, I'm just treated as one of them. It doesn't really matter. And that's what we need more of in hockey. Like we are stronger when we all have our diverse voices coming together. Yeah, like it's definitely something that means a lot to know that people are willing to contribute financially. Like, yes, I care about the quality of work that you guys put out and the voices that you have and all of this to be like, yes, I'm gonna put X amount of monies each month aside just for you to be able to keep on doing what you're doing in order to keep the lights on for the website. And like, that's really kind of cool to know that it's like, wow, like what we're creating is that valuable. I think what's going to be really awesome about being like that kind of paid subscriber to the content is because of your support, we're going to give you way more than what you would without it. You're going to have so much more access to different things. And I know like there's going to be a lot of stuff that we have like in the pipelines that are like really fun, really creative. And you really kind of get to know more of who we are as well. Like I know we're interested in like writing more content that's kind of like out of the box, possibly started from things like the cheesesteak article being so popular that we kind of see like, oh, like our readers are also just kind of really into things that they can relate to in general, or, you know, just things about Philly culture. And so it's going to be really fun to kind of see how can we like play with these things. But also because you guys are the ones supporting us, we're going to ensure that this content is for you. And it's going to kind of be the love that you show us, we're going to send it right back.